All right, Krystal, what's on your radar?
Well, I thought I would check in this morning on how the establishment is dealing with Bernie's big polling surge just as voting is set to begin. Here's a live look. Seems like they're taking it well. According to a new report by Hannah Trudeau, Sam Stein, and Lachlan Markay for the Daily Beast, Democratic operatives are scrambling to fund an anti-Sanders effort that could be ready to barrage him with negative ads should he prevail in Iowa. It's not any one group of people trying to build the anti-Sanders effort, said one of the Democratic sources. It is a loose network of people who think he would be very problematic as a nominee. There is at this stage calls to and conversations with donors and organizations that might support such an effort. At the same time, panicked elite never-Trumpers worried that after fleeing the GOP due to Trump, they may find themselves fleeing the Democratic Party due to Bernie, are pushing out op-eds at a feverish pitch. David Frum is out with this one, which blares, "Bernie can't win." Now, I do want to give David some credit here. Within the piece, he does accurately recognize the strength of Bernie's appeal to universality, including and especially among voters of color. But rather than going with the candidate who authentically holds and advocates for that view, he instead argues for some other candidate, maybe Bloomberg or Pete, to just try to copy Bernie's approach. Obviously, Michael Bloomberg or Pete trying to channel Bernie is a hilarious notion destined to lead to a 40-state loss. Never Trump HQ, The Bulwark, has published a piece that goes through all the conventional wisdom tropes about how Bernie's never been vetted and how once voters find out about an essay he wrote in 1972, then his political career will be over. Please. Were you all alive last cycle? Did you miss the fact that Donald Trump said all sorts of absolutely horrid things, some of them on tape, and he is now president of the United States? These are the same people who have gotten everything in modern politics wrong, and yet here they are, delivering more predictions with absolute confidence. I honestly wish I had that kind of chutzpah. At the same time, the official Democratic infrastructure is making some moves. As we'll discuss in more depth with Nomiki Konst later, Tom Perez has submitted his list of nominations to the 2020 DNC committees, and it is a doozy. There's a bunch of Obama people who are now cashing in various ways. A woman who's the chief legal officer for Blue Cross Blue Shield in North Carolina. Kamala surrogate Bakari Sellers, who notoriously despises Bernie Sanders. Actually, that's pretty much the common theme among all of them. Deep ties in establishment politics and deep contempt for Sanders and his movement. Not a great sign for the unity that I thought these people were all about. What it all really comes down to is this. Bernie's up in Iowa, he's up in New Hampshire. If he wins both, he is very likely to be the nominee. In the modern era, no Democrat or Republican has won Iowa and New Hampshire and failed to capture the nomination. It's never happened. It is true that his opponents haven't really taken him seriously and haven't really done much to try to stop him. It's also true that they don't have any really good ways to take him on. They can't attack him on the issues because primary voters prefer his stances on the issues. They can't attack him on trust, as Warren tried, because voters trust him more than his opponents. They're trying to resurrect the dumb Bernie bro narrative. Sagar's going to talk more about that. They're trying desperately to scare voters who hate Trump out of voting for Bernie due to electability myths, but it's all honestly weak tea. They're also contemplating, with their money moves and their DNC moves and their Bloomberg moves, some harder tea. Here's what I will say. Remember all that stuff you said about unity over the past 4 years? How we can't split the Democratic Party? How we must remain united to beat Trump? You were right. And if Sanders is headed to winning a plurality or majority of delegates and you take it from him through superdelegates or rules changes or other dirty tactics, you will, I promise you, absolutely destroy the Democratic Party. And you will destroy the idealism and political engagement of the young people who overwhelmingly back Sanders and could reinvigorate the Democratic Party. So please, resist the temptation to come in over the top. Republicans have already lost the next generation of young people for the foreseeable future. Let's not have the Democratic Party be next. This is the real debate, Sagar. What are they going to do? How hard are they going to go?
I say it every day we get closer. It's just like 2016. This is exactly what they tried to do. So whenever Trump was surging in Iowa and in New Hampshire, a lot of Koch-backed networks and groups got together like, oh my God, what do we do? All these billionaires started to freak out. They were spending all this money. I think they spent like $10 million in ads. Guess how much of it worked?
None of it.
Zero. None of them. All of them ended up bowing the knee to Trump whenever he became the nominee because he had all this time in order to consolidate that base, and the truth is that they didn't want to hear what they think are like negative dunks on Trump are really just what make people like him even more, because they're like, oh, he pissed somebody off with money. That's probably the same thing that you're going to see with Bernie Sanders. And I think it's interesting because what you said was exactly correct. I remember ahead of the convention, everyone was like, Ted Cruz and all these other people need to pull some like convoluted rule in order to deny Trump the nominee. And it's how can you invalidate the vote of hundreds of thousands of people? It's like, this is a legitimate democratic thing. And listen, it's the same thing with Bernie.
Even putting the morality of it aside, because these people are about power, not morality, but putting the morality of it aside, you will destroy the party.
Yeah,
they would have destroyed the Republican Party. This would destroy the Democratic Party, and you will reelect Trump if that's what you do. I mean, I can promise you that. It is funny, though, thinking about 2016, because part of the problem why it was so hard to go against Trump is that you never had a coalescing around one alternative. And it's the same dynamic, right? You have Biden's got money and he's got a lot of endorsements and establishment support behind him. He's not going anywhere. Pete has millions and millions of dollars. He's, built a great brand for himself, for his future of whatever he's going to do. He's not going anywhere. Warren has plenty enough money and wants to stay in the race and see what happens. I mean, all of these, Amy Klobuchar now is saying, why should I get out when Bloomberg and Steyer are sticking around, which is a good point. And then, of course, you have Bloomberg coming down the road with infinite money. He's not going to go anywhere.
All it does is help Bernie, and it's the same issue. Like, if Buttigieg was out of this race, Biden would win Iowa and New Hampshire. He absolutely would. And yet, so it's like, what is going on here in which you have all of these? It's the exact same thing. Nobody can make up their mind as to who they want in order to support. They've all kind of attacked each other. Sanders is kind of skated under, everyone says he's lacked scrutiny. I'm not sure if that's necessarily true.
I don't think that's fair. Yeah.
I don't think that's true because the deck has been so stacked against him. But it's more that they have not taken him seriously. They've never taken him seriously.
Right.
Now they're beginning to. I'm curious to see how it actually goes. I think it will go exactly like Trump. I think they're going to freak out, throw everything against the wall, and by throwing such stupid criticism at him that they're just going to diminish an actually effective attack, and his supporters and everybody else are just going to tune it all out.
Yeah, I mean, if it was truly a head-to-head Bernie versus Biden, I think that would be very hard for Bernie to win, just because there is so much fear-mongering about his electability and all of that. But while you have all these people with lots of money and lots of reasons to stay in the race, who's going to drop out, really? Yeah, I think things are lining up pretty well for him. I think the establishment is finally starting to realize it and freak out, but I'm not sure that there's much they can do.
If he wins Iowa, you're going to see a firestorm.
Oh, yeah, because he's way up in New Hampshire.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, Sagar, looking forward to your radar. That's next.